Hi there, I'm Gary. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. So today is combo day on the kit of the week. The kit of the week is the Concorde. So today's video will start with a look at the history of Concorde. Then we'll have a look at what you get inside the box if you were to buy the new kit of it. And then how to put that kit together. Now all of these come in chapters. You can hop backwards and forwards as your heart desires. If you enjoy the video, please do remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It doesn't cost you anything, helps me enormously. All you have to do is click on that small logo down there in the bottom right corner. Now if you want to support future productions, you can do that through Patreon and you can do that through Buy Me a Coffee. Links to both of these are in the information box below. There's also a link to the Airfix online store. If you follow that link and buy anything at all, be it this Concorde or a Spitfire or anything, then Airfix, at no extra cost to you, will donate some money to this channel. And of course, if you're an Airfix Club member, you'll get your 10% online discount as well. Enough of all that, let's get on and have a look at the history of one of the most beautiful aircraft ever built, the Concorde. If you ask anyone to name a famous airliner, they will most likely answer either Jumbo Jet or Concorde. Although it's no longer in service, this beautiful aircraft still captures the imagination and evokes the idea of luxury. Concorde was developed jointly by Sud Aviation, later Aerospatiale, and the British Aircraft Corporation. The design was a merger of two aircraft, the Sud Aviation Super Caravelle and the Bristol Type 223. When the development teams met in 1960, they found they'd reached very similar design conclusions. The aircraft would be powered by the British Olympus engine. The speed would be limited to Mach 2, or twice the speed of sound, to avoid excessive frictional heating, and that the aircraft would have an OG-shaped wing. The treaty for the development project was signed in 1962, and construction of two prototypes began in February 1965, with production at Aerospatiale in Toulouse and BAC at Filton, near Bristol. The first test flight was made in France on the 2nd of March 1969, followed in the next month by the British prototype at Bristol. Initially, Concorde attracted around 100 orders, but by 1973 many of these were being cancelled. The Soviet Tu-144 supersonic airline had crashed during the Paris Air Show, shocking potential buyers, even as operating costs were spiralling due to the fuel crisis. When the US giant Boeing had funding for its competing Tu-707 airliner cut, the market for an advanced supersonic transport aircraft collapsed. Ultimately, only the national carriers, Air France and British Airways, operated the Concorde full-time. Commercial services commenced in 1976, with flights to USA starting in 1977. The development costs were never recovered by the government, a total of between $11 and $14 billion in 2020 money. British Airways purchased its Concordes at a substantial discount, thereafter operating them at a profit. Services expanded to many destinations, and both airlines had extensive charter operations for their aircraft. Sadly, it was during one of these charters in July 2000 that an Air France Concorde crashed after takeoff from Paris, having hit some debris on the runway. All 109 people on board were killed, as were 4 people on the ground. Within 3 years, both airlines announced their retirement of the Concorde fleets. Maintenance costs of the 1960s vintage controls were prohibitive, with very few spares available and none being routinely manufactured. The final flight of any Concorde was on 26 November 2003, when Golf Bravo Oscar Alpha Foxtrot landed at Filton, an event commemorated in this kit. first kit of the Concorde was made in 1966 and featured this glorious artwork by Roy Strong. It shows Concorde in the colours of BOAC, the predecessor of British Airways. The kit was re-released in 1969 with the colours of Air France, the other launch operator. The original kit was released once more with a new box in 1973, then was forgotten about until 2019, when it was re-released under the Vintage Classics label. This version is still available at Airfix as of 2022. The current Airfix kit was released in 1977, featuring the production glass nose and now in the so-called Negus colours of British Airways, as well as decals for Air France. The kit was released again in 1983 with markings for either one British or one French aircraft, then once more in 1987 with the Landor colour scheme tail. In 1994, the kit sported the latest version of the British Airways colours, those that will remain until the end of flying. Decals for 2 British Airways or 1 Air France aircraft were supplied. This version was released again in 2005, with a gift set released in the same year that included glue, a brush and 6 pots of paint. The kit was revived in 2021 in the current last flight markings of Golf Bravo Oscar Alpha Foxtrot, and as a gift set, the kit comes with brushes, glue and paint. In terms of the competition, the only kit in 1/144th that is easy to get hold of is the Revel one. This derives from a new tooling from 1983. This is as basic as the Airfix kit, although it does have a rudimentary drooping nose. For more detail, you'd need to search out the 1/72nd kit from Revel. A moulding it shares with Hella, so look out for that too. This has a whole level more detail as you might expect, including a really quite realistic droop nose operation and a full cockpit area. The current release has 52 parts, and when it's complete is 425mm long, that's just over 16.5 inches. It comes as a gift set, so on this panel it mentions the 2 brushes, which are a number 2 and a number 4, a tube of polystyrene cement and 6 pots of paint, 3 white, 1 black, 1 silver and 1 gunmetal. The occasionally woeful attention to detail at Airfix is evident in that they couldn't even print Humbrol correctly on the front. This appeared in the pre-release box art. I'm surprised no one thought to change it before production. The kit is rated at skill level 2, which seems fair enough, and the box comes with a token for 2 flying hours. You can collect these as a member of the Airfix Club towards a free kit in the future, or you can donate them to Models for Heroes. A link to this excellent charity is in the information box below. So, opening up my box of goodies, there is this very large plastic bag. The contents don't seem to justify the volume of the box somehow. One thing missing in my kit is the bag with the paint, glue and brushes. Fortunately, I've plenty of these, but I'd be pretty miffed if I didn't, especially if it were a gift. The sprues look pretty much as one expects from a 45-year-old tooling. The plastic has a slightly pearlescent, shiny feel to it. Each sprue has a wing, half the fuselage, an engine pod, and then other bits and pieces. I don't know if these are actually new mouldings or just old stock, but a few bits have already fallen off the sprue, 2 doors and 1 wheel. The doors were in the plastic bag, the wheel wasn't, but the nice people in the spares department got me a replacement very quickly. Looking more closely at the plastic, it is very glossy and has raised panel lines. There's plenty of detail there, but it's all raised. The smaller parts don't inspire confidence in their strength, but I assume they're okay. The nose is raised and the transparency fills in the front with 2 small windows at the side also having transparencies. The windows in the main cabin are too small for plastic inserts, so are left empty. One could go along with a transparent filler such as microcrystal clear if one really wants the appearance of glass. On the tail there are these outlines for the 1970s British Airways Negus markings not the same as the current Chatham Dockyard flowing lines. Now these might have to be sanded down with some very, very high grit paper. The wing joint and undercarriage bay are rudimentary, and there is enough flash on all of the mould lines to be annoying. But these are very old moulds, so it is perhaps to be expected. The kit has doors for the door frames. This just smacks of upping the parts count for no reason at all. It's not like you can have the doors open to show off an interior. On this wing panel you can see there's a small blemish in the plastic, and you can see some of the flash on the edges. And here's the copyright symbol dating from 1976, which is the year Concorde entered commercial service. The instruction sheet is simple enough, with just over 50 parts, that's not a surprise. They're of a heritage quality, let's say, and take up just 3 pages. On the back page is the decal layout for the one aircraft represented here. The decal sheet itself is probably the best thing in the box. They're crisply printed with good colour density and excellent registration. So the first thing I need to do is to put these windows in on either side of the cockpit. I'm using a PVA glue for this because it won't craze clear plastic like regular polystyrene cement can do sometimes. I placed the windows using some blue tack on a cocktail stick. I think it just makes it easier to position. Once those are in, I can put the 2 halves of the fuselage together. There are no transparencies for the passenger windows as they're so small. Where the locator pins are, I've used dabs of regular polystyrene cement, and I'm taping the fuselage together to get the best fit I can. Then I'll run ultra thin cement along all the joints to make them permanent. When it's dry, I'll go along the seam with a sanding stick to see where the misalignments are, see if they're within sanding range or whether I need to use filler anywhere. Given the age of the moulds, the fuselage is really not too bad a fit. I'm onto the wings already, and most of the wing comes in one piece with an insert for the inner lower part where the wing's at the thickest. The fit of this is pretty ropey, to be honest. To fit the wings to the fuselage, there's this little bit at the very front of the wing root that needs to be aligned. Some careful sanding will do the job. When that's done, the wing can go onto the fuselage, and after a little bit of pushing and shoving, it fits really quite well on the top. Pity the same can't be said for the underneath, but then I guess most people never bother to look on the bottom of the model. Some filler will sort all that out. I'll let everything set and add other bits of filler as needed. Next are the cabin doors. These are a really appalling fit. I think that on the kit on the Airfix website, they've filled these doors over completely and relied on the decals to say where the door is. They really should not have bothered with these. Then the windshield can go on. Now I've done some masking already. I've used some white plastic tape and some yellow paper tape to do the masks. All you need is a very sharp pointed craft knife or scalpel blade. Onto the engine pods, and there are these intake ramps and splitters to go in. You can paint the end of this tunnel bit black if you like, as there are no engine discs here. Then the engine pods can go on underneath each wing. Next I'm fitting the undercarriage doors at the nose. These actually are closed whether the undercarriage is up or down, so again, seem a bit superfluous. I guess it keeps up the parts count. Then back to the engines, and each side has these 2 exhaust nozzles to fit on, and on top of these go these clamshells. Then all over a coat of white paint and the decals can go on. These are very simple and very few. The only difficult ones on the tail. Make sure to use some decal setting solution like Decal Fix or Microset to get them to follow the actuator fairings on the fin. Onto the undercarriage, and all the wheels have significant mould lines that need to be sanded off. Just the 8 main wheels and 2 nose wheels. Then I'll paint the tyres in a rubber black. The hubs are painted aluminium. When they're all dry, on each main leg there's a wheel with a hub that goes through a hole in this bogie and then into its opposite wheel. Do this 3 more times on the main legs and once for the nose wheel. The nose gear leg fits neatly into the hole at the back of the bay and onto the roof of the wheel well. The main gear leg sits into 2 holes next to the engine. Then there's an actuator arm that acts as a brace that fits just under halfway up the leg. And right at the back under the tail is the over-rotation bumper wheel. This protected the tail if the pilot pulled back too far on takeoff or landing. There's also a tiny little pair of doors. Speaking of doors, on the main gear there is a door that sits on the outside of the main leg like so. There are also 2 other main doors that again are closed whether the gear's up or down. There are 2 tiny doors for the main nose gear, 1 on each side. Then peel off the paint masks on the windshield and our Concorde is done. With a little bit of work this looks okay, and if you spend a lot of time on it, it will look pretty good. It is a kit very much of its age with fit and finish problems and the usual flash of old age moulds, but it's such a beautiful plane it's hard not to like the kit. It's a great place for a new modeller to start and a great thing for you to practice your gap filling skills if you're a bit more experienced. However, when 20% of the pieces are completely superfluous, you do wonder at the price point. It's relatively an awful lot of money for really not very much plastic. There we go then, the Concorde. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you have, please do remember to subscribe to the channel. You do that, of course, by clicking on the small logo down there in the bottom right corner. Doesn't cost you anything, helps me enormously. In any case, thank you so much for watching today, and I hope to see you again very soon.